and then you would have a single DC driving everything. So if this works out, we would have a large portable wall that could be transported, say, in 3 suitcases or something on an airplane. So we're looking at that design and other things to support conferences.
Mm-hmm. And are the projectors full HD? In this case,
those are HD projectors, and based on our calculations, if the projectors are about say 8 feet from the projection screen,
mm-hmm.
We will get a brightness of about 700 nits, which is basically the same as a standard LCD screen.
Okay.
The brightness is really important because on a convention floor, it's going to be bright. And so you really need a bright projection setup if you're going to have the same kind of impact as an LCD.
And then you will have a 4K image.
That's right. So you'd have four times
HD
full HD resolution.
Okay.
Okay. If you go to the last slide, it says Q&A time. So that's my contact information. Anybody who has questions can definitely follow up after this. There are some links there to the Goddard Hyperwall, to the NASA Ames Hyperwall 2, and to our own research group's wiki about hyperwalls at NASA. So, so Jane, that's most of the material that I have prepared, and I can answer any questions that anyone in the audience has now.
Okay, thank you very much, first of all. And I would like to know, actually, I would like you to talk to us a little bit about what are the advantages of using SAGE, because you have your own system, and instead of using it, you are using SAGE.
Mm-hmm.
And what are the advantages? But not only for outreach, but also for research.
Yeah. I think the use case that is easiest for groups here to see and understand is the ability for several people to come into a conference room or meeting space and discuss a complex research or engineering issue in a much more collaborative way than is normally done right now. So let me explain.
Mm-hmm.
Without SAGE, you will come into a conference room, there'll be a single projector or maybe 2 projectors and a couple of video cables to plug into laptops. So everyone brings their laptop. They all have material on their laptops they want to show. Mm-hmm. And first one person will plug in and they'll show some material, and then someone else will say, okay, well, have you considered XYZ? And they'll pull the video cable out of laptop 1 and plug it into theirs, and 30 seconds or a minute passes while everything gets synced up, and then they'll show some of their material, and this continues, this kind of sharing of the baton, and it can be a little distracting, and it also doesn't let 2 people interact at the same time. So with a SAGE wall, as long as the SAGE client has been installed on all of those laptops, they can simply come in, put their media up on the wall, resize however they want, and although it can be a bit chaotic, they can all collaborate and talk about their media at the same time. And so it's subtle, but it can be a way to make the conversation flow a little bit better with the visuals that are being discussed. I'd say that's probably the biggest advantage of using SAGE, is actually when everyone is in the room and they're just collaborating on some media. Now, one other advantage is with Sage, you can pull several displays into a single display area. So if you have very large images, you can zoom way into them and still preserve a level of detail that could be important for scientific research. Sage also does support distance collaborations. So I can be here and I can manipulate windows down there in Sao Paulo. We haven't seen a lot of groups use that, but that also has some potential.
Okay. And could you give us some examples of the subjects that you have experienced with Sage and the Sage Pointer, and people having their own displays in the wall, and what kind of subject that you've seen and you think that you consider that it's good and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to be clear, most of the groups that we have been evangelizing Sage with are just getting started with it. It's not quite integrated into the culture here at NASA yet, but I have seen it used. Number one, just to be able to pull up some PowerPoint charts or something and have 2 or 3 people displaying their PowerPoint slides at the same time. So people love it for that. We have here at Ames, we've used it to be able to zoom into extremely large composite images from the Mars rover and discuss features and so on. I know Michael Sims has used it for that a few times. For the really big images, we're also sometimes using CGLX, which is another academic project that has software for working with large images. I think it's basically been simple things like being able to share 2 or 3 screens at the same time and show PowerPoint slides. We've had some technical challenges with displaying moving media, like a video playing from someone's desktop or a scientific simulation playing from someone's desktop, simply because of the bandwidth requirements. So we will usually stick to either still images playing over screen share, or we'll drag a video file to Sage and let it display natively in Sage. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, it is. And we know that with the Sage we can see a very high definition image. And what is the importance of the high definition image for you in your researches?
Well, Michael Sims is probably the best person to answer that. Unfortunately, he's not available today, but I can speculate some. Mm-hmm. So, in the TED talk that Michael gave a couple of years ago, he emphasized the point that with the Mars rover images, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of new territory and a lot of discovery that happens simply in looking at the images. It's not information that you can run through some software and get some answers. A lot of time is spent just poring over the images and looking at them. And in particular, when one of the Mars rovers had a wheel malfunction and was dragging that wheel across the surface, it was uncovering material that was lower than the dust level, and that's one way that they discovered that there was water that was locked into certain materials on the surface, and that was discovered, I believe, initially just from looking at the photos, and it was something that needed to be looked at in great detail, and so they the researchers were able to zoom in and pick that out, and having a lot of pixels in that image, having a lot of resolution was important in that scenario. Now that was not specific to SAGE, that just has to do with the importance of high resolution images. But the point is that if you know a lot of discovery is going to come in analyzing and examining these high resolution images, it's going to be a lot easier to do that, especially when you're with a group of researchers, if you have a very large surface that's also high resolution, because you can stand right there at the surface, zoom into whatever you want, and still preserve all the detail that you need.
Okay. And one last question. Can you explain to us what is the importance of having 3D in your in the robots in Mars?
Again, we should probably get Michael, but from what I understand, so let me give you an example. So with the Opportunity rover, one of the challenges that they have is in making sure that the solar panels of the rover are aligned properly relative to the sun, so that they can get enough of a charge to keep things going. And the alignment of those panels is determined by the slope of the surface that the rover is on. Now, they have a lot of imagery that helps them with the slope, but from the few times that I've seen Michael working with those images, having 3D having a 3D view of the terrain as the rover is moving forward could be useful, because it just lets you sort of mentally orient yourself and put yourself in the rover's shoes, so to speak, and see what the slopes that are upcoming on the rover's path are going to be like a little more easily. So it maybe lowers the cognitive load on understanding the situation that the rover is in.
Okay. I've been very selfish because I made all the questions. I'm gonna ask the audience here if they want to make some question. No?
How's the weather in Sao Paulo right now?
Well, actually, it's
like yours.
yeah, it's like no, not San Francisco. It's like
No,
San Francisco is colder than here, but it is like 20 degrees Celsius. But
Okay.
inside this room now, it's very, very hot because the air conditioner is not working here.
No. Yeah, it's kind of cold up here.
Yeah, really? Well, somebody wants to, Cecil? No? Well, John and Cecil and I and Guido, I don't know, you don't know Guido, but you met Lucenildo last time.
Yes.
We are planning to go to San Diego in 2 weeks. We are going to go to attend Cinegrid. And Lavit Laboratory, they are going to show an application with 8K. and sage.